When it comes to Doors lore, it is pretty hard not to yap. However, there are two types of yapping, one being just spewing nonsense, and the other is babbling about stuff which actually has a point. Not to toot my own horn, okay, I'm actually really tooting my own horn here, but I think I do a pretty good job of making my theories and lore videos make sense. However, some of y'all just go on and on about complete gibberish, and that's what I want to discuss today. You see, one of the most popular Doors theories I've seen floating around is Figure has the ability to teleport. Yeah, up front that sounds just like nonsense, but looking into it more I can see why so many people actually believe it. So today I'll be doing somewhat of a myth-busting video. I'll be looking into whether or not canonically Figure has the ability to teleport, as well as why this theory might be so widely believed. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alrighty, so based on my research, the whole Figure teleporting theory goes like this. Essentially, after completing room 50 in the hotel, you can encounter ruined rooms. These are rooms which are canonically destroyed by Figure, as confirmed by the developers, and they often have giant piles of meat in them, meat which looks very similar to the flesh which makes up Figure. Now, the theory states that Figure is able to use this meat to teleport around, or as sort of a spawn location. How it works is that the entity can go into one pile and hop out of another, effectively making a very fleshy teleporter. Now, although that sounds pretty odd at first, I'll give credit where credit is due. It actually explains a lot about the nature of the entity. You see, one of the biggest questions about Figure is how they manage to get from point A to point B. After all, they somehow get to the library to the electrical room in the hotel, as well as from the chasm to somewhere around door 180 in the mines. This teleportation theory would explain how the entity is able to travel all across the game without seemingly being capable of leaving the specific room they are in. Furthermore, this theory is really backed up by how these meat piles tend to always appear in rooms that Figure is in, with the exception of the library. Figure manages to come out of a very cramped closet in their electrical room introduction cutscene, a closet which most notably contains a flesh pile. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Figure teleports, right? I mean, everything fits into place and there doesn't really seem to be anything against it. Well, after going over the evidence, I can see why this theory is very convincing, and I wouldn't really be surprised if it was confirmed to be the case later on in the game. However, my main issue with this theory is that it's never explicitly stated or shown in the game. I feel as if the ability for Figure to teleport is pretty important about the character, and the fact that it hasn't even been mentioned by Guiding Light once, or even just shown to us, leads me to believe that it might be false. Also, the nature of the theory is very odd, as the ability for Figure to teleport does seem pretty out of character. So despite this theory having a really strong foundation, I won't accept it as a fact just yet. So if Figure isn't able to teleport, then how does he move across the game? Well, I actually have a theory of my own which could explain this without all of the teleportation shenanigans. You see, we know based on other evidence in the game, such as the crucifix sigil in the Room 60 painting, that there is a third light character in addition to Guiding Light and Curious Light. Furthermore, although we haven't formally met this third light, we are fairly certain that 1, they are red in color, and 2, they typically are against the player. We know this as they seem responsible for the modifiers, which share the same symbol as them, as well as how it's theorized they might prevent us from crucifying boss entities, such as Figure or Grumble, given how the crucifix turns red. Now, we know that the light characters are able to interact with the physical world. For example, Guiding Light breaks the lamp in the Door 50 cutscene in order to distract Figure, and Curious Light confirms through their dialogue that they are the one who places all of the levers in the back door to help us deal with haste. So, with all of that being said, I think there's a pretty good chance that this third red light character, who we are pretty sure is against the player, is simply moving Figure around the game, putting them right in front of us to create an obstacle. After all, we know the light entities can affect the physical world, so I wouldn't see them just moving an entity as impossible. However, this theory of mine also does have a pretty big issue, that being that, just like the teleportation theory, there really isn't any evidence of this occurring in the game. Sure, it could be considered as a likely solution to the problem of Figure's transportation, but we have never seen or heard of it in action. So, if Figure isn't teleporting and the third red light isn't moving them, how is Figure moving across the game? Well, I'm not really sure. One of my first theories relating to this issue is maybe Figure just walks to the locations or something like that. But this seems pretty unlikely given the distance between Room 50 and 100, as well as how Figure's placed in the start of the Room 100 cutscene. Additionally, there's practically no way out from Figure's first location in the mines, so I'm not sure how they could have made it to the second location all alone. Okay, so at the start of this video, I'd say that I debunked the Figure teleportation theory. However, given the evidence so far, it's not possible to make an 100% accurate guess. Although going off intuition, I'd say the teleportation theory is false, given how not only is there really no proof of it occurring, as well as how it just seems out of character for the entity. The red light theory, although having just as much evidence as the teleportation theory, which isn't that much, it does seem more in line with what the characters would actually do. So for now, I'd say that although both theories are potentially likely, until enough evidence surfaces, the red light theory is probably the more possible explanation for how Figure gets from one part of the game to another. This means that, at least currently, given the way I see it, the teleportation theory is false. Anyways, that was the entire video. This theory was a little tricky for me to debunk, so if you guys have any explanation as to how Figure moved across the game, let me know in the comments. Anyways, with all of that being said, thank you all for watching and I hope you enjoyed.